I'd just like to say that Carole and I are absolutely delighted by today's announcement.
Well, I'm not sure what I'm able to bring. It's what all these very brave ladies tell me. It's seeing is believing.
In a royal world where every gesture is measured and every word weighed like gold, no one saw this coming. Least of all, Queen Camilla. Carole Middleton, Princess Kate's mother and once seen as a quiet, almost invisible figure in royal life, made a daring and deeply personal move that's shaking Buckingham Palace to its core. Sources reveal that Queen Camilla was left utterly stunned, even brought to tears, by what unfolded behind those tightly guarded palace doors. What on earth could Carole have done to spark such a raw, emotional reaction from the Queen herself? Let's rewind to where it all began, behind the velvet curtains of royal glamour, before the grand spectacle of Prince William and Kate Middleton's wedding on April 29, 2011, everything appeared picture perfect. The two families smiled gracefully for cameras, Carole Middleton and then Duchess of Cornwall, Camilla, standing shoulder to shoulder, flashing their best royal smiles for the world to see. But behind those polite greetings and staged family photos, silent tensions had already started to bubble. Carole Middleton, the woman who came from humble beginnings as the daughter of a builder and a shop worker, wasn't born into blue blood. She'd worked hard for every ounce of success, starting off at retailer John Lewis and later soaring through the skies as a flight attendant. But while her past seemed far from the royal world, her quiet determination and rising influence were starting to make certain people at the palace very uneasy. Alongside her husband Michael, Carole built Party Pieces, a booming party supply business that turned into a national success story. Their hard work paid off, sending their 3 children to some of the UK's most elite schools, a dream come true for a family that had started from the ground up. Carole was proud, fiercely proud, of what they'd built with their own 2 hands, a life earned through grit and hustle, not royal privilege. But inside Buckingham Palace, things weren't so simple. Tradition ruled with an iron grip, and whispers behind gilded walls hinted that not everyone approved of Carole's middle-class background or the influence she quietly carried through her daughter, the future queen. As Kate and William's romance deepened, Carole started to feel a shift, subtle, cutting, and impossible to ignore. The smiles at royal events grew tighter, the conversations shorter. Some courtiers still greeted her warmly, but others barely looked her way, pretending she didn't exist. Carole would later describe those moments as being treated like she wasn't even there.
Move on to Princess Kate's mom, otherwise known as Super Granny. Carole Middleton is featured in this week's issue of People magazine.
A silent reminder of her place in the royal hierarchy. It stung deeply. Meanwhile, Camilla, born into privilege and raised among the upper class, blended effortlessly into royal society. She knew the unspoken codes. Who speaks first? Who sits where? Who matters most? Behind closed doors, she was said to often stress the importance of lineage and knowing one's place. Those words carried weight, and Carole felt them like daggers. As wedding plans took shape, tensions only grew hotter. Carole hoped to add warm, personal touches from the Middleton side, simple gestures showing love and family spirit, but her ideas were quietly dismissed. Even small choices like flowers or a guest or two were taken out of her hands, making it clear she was expected to just smile and stay silent. Carole quickly learned what was expected of her: smile, nod, and stay quietly in the background. But even after the fairy tale wedding faded, those quiet tensions didn't disappear. They only grew stronger, buried beneath layers of royal politeness. Carole began to notice subtle changes, especially in how close she could be to her daughter. Though Kate dazzled the world with her poise and elegance, stepping flawlessly into her royal duties, Carole could see the strain behind the smile. The visits that once came often began to fade. Their private mother-daughter moments were suddenly interrupted, rescheduled, or cancelled altogether. Even Christmas, once the most cherished Middleton family tradition, became a battlefield of royal protocol. Kate and William were now expected to spend the holidays at Sandringham, not in the cosy warmth of the Middleton home. For Carole, it was heartbreaking. For Kate, it was exhausting. Torn between 2 worlds, trying to please both the crown and her family, and slowly wearing herself thin. Then came July 2013, the birth of Prince George, a moment that should have brought pure joy. As a proud mother and experienced parent, Carole naturally wanted to help, to be there for Kate as any mom would. But the palace had other ideas. Royal nannies were hired, strict routines were established, and every detail of George's care was tightly managed. Carole's nurturing presence was quietly pushed to the sidelines. Rumours swirled that Queen Camilla quietly supported these restrictions, not openly, but subtly, as a way to keep the Middleton influence under control. By the time Princess Charlotte arrived in July 2015, christened at the historic church of St Mary Magdalene in Sandringham, the message from the palace was clearer than ever. Carole Middleton might be the grandmother, but when it came to royal matters, she was to watch from the shadows. Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana of Cambridge was christened on a bright Sunday, but behind the royal smiles, the cracks had already started to show. Carole Middleton had lovingly planned a small private gathering after the ceremony, something intimate, heartfelt, and full of warmth. Yet at the very last moment, those plans were suddenly overridden by Camilla's office. The change caused confusion, disappointment, and more than a few quiet tears. What was meant to be a simple family moment turned into yet another painful reminder that Carole's place in royal life was to be controlled, not celebrated. And so, beneath the polished surface of royal pageantry and elegant appearances, a quiet power struggle began to take shape. This wasn't a tabloid scandal or a loud confrontation. It was a battle of subtle gestures, silent exclusion, and unspoken judgment. The tension between Queen Camilla and Carole Middleton had become a cold war, one fought not with words, but with invitations withheld and boundaries drawn. But then came the moment that changed everything, the silent statement that left even the royals stunned. After Princess Charlotte's christening in 2015, Carole began to pull away. What had once looked like an effort to maintain peace between two very different families, the self-made Middletons and the centuries-old monarchy, now evolved into something far more deliberate. Carole, after years of being politely dismissed and strategically pushed aside, decided to take control of her own narrative. She began to retreat, but not out of defeat, out of quiet strength. Her appearances at royal events became rare, her public visibility fading almost by design. Those who noticed described it as graceful but pointed, a woman reclaiming her space in a world that had long treated her like an outsider. This wasn't rebellion, it was resilience. Every step she took away from the royal spotlight sent a message. She would no longer fight for acceptance in a circle that had never fully welcomed her. From the moment Kate married Prince William in 2011, Carole had been walking a tightrope, balancing royal expectations with her own values, her love for her daughter with the unspoken rules of the crown. But by 2015, she'd had enough. After years of quiet resistance, Carole Middleton was finally drawing her own line in the sand, and the royal family felt it. Royal tradition was like an unmovable wall, and Carole's grounded, modern way of living constantly ran into it. She had never craved attention or power, yet somehow her quiet presence started to feel like a threat inside the palace. To some, she was a reminder that real influence could come from hard work, not just from birthright. By 2013, after the arrival of Prince George, that unspoken clash had grown even sharper. Carole dreamed of being a hands-on grandmother, the kind who could help with bedtime stories and morning cuddles. But that dream didn't fit inside royal walls. The palace had its own way of doing things, rigid schedules, formal routines, and nannies who took priority over family. Every offer Carole made to help was politely brushed off. Every visit had to be arranged, and every attempt at normal family life seemed to hit another wall of royal rules. It wasn't just about class anymore, it was about control. And then there was Queen Camilla. Once viewed as an outsider herself, she had now become the very face of the establishment. The woman once labelled the other woman was now the queen, and she seemed determined to protect the royal order that had once kept her at arm's length. Over the years, Camilla reportedly became a strong advocate for preserving royal tradition, encouraging strict customs, unspoken etiquette, and old-world standards. And in doing so, many royal watchers believe she subtly positioned herself against Carole Middleton's growing influence. What unfolded was a silent rivalry between two powerful women, both mothers, both protective, but from completely different worlds. That tension finally hit a boiling point in November 2018, at Prince Charles's grand 70th birthday celebration at Buckingham Palace. The event brought together the royal elite, diplomats, and family members. including the dignified Middletons. Everything appeared smooth on the surface, but then came the moment that changed everything. According to insiders, Carole overheard Queen Camilla chatting with a group of her longtime aristocratic friends. The topic? The changing face of Britain's upper class. In that conversation, Camilla allegedly made a pointed remark about new money, stressing that true value came from heritage, not wealth. No names were mentioned, but everyone in earshot knew exactly who the comment was aimed at. For Carole, it was a dagger cloaked in civility. After years of staying composed, raising her daughter with grace, and trying to bridge the gap between two worlds, this was her breaking point. It wasn't just insulting, it was clarifying. There was no dramatic outburst, no scene, no public scandal. Instead, Carole did something far more powerful. She quietly withdrew. She stopped pushing for invitations to royal events, stopped offering suggestions that would only be ignored, and stopped trying to fit into a circle that had never truly accepted her. From that point on, she focused on her own empire, her thriving business, her community, and her family, where love wasn't bound by protocol or title. Every cancelled visit with her grandchildren hit Carole Middleton like a quiet heartbreak. Every time family plans were changed without her say, or milestones passed without her presence, it was another reminder that her place in that royal world was slipping further away. She smiled through it, of course, as she always did, but behind that calm exterior, something had shifted. And here's where things get fascinating. Carole's years of running a successful business meant she wasn't just well-connected. She was informed. Through her vast network of friends, colleagues, and social ties, she began hearing whispers, not gossip, but details, tiny, easily overlooked details about money, property, and power. She learned about strange financial choices, changes in royal charity accounts, and luxury expenses that didn't quite line up with their official purposes. None of it was explosive on its own, but together it painted a revealing picture of how influence truly worked behind palace walls. And remember, Carole wasn't careless. She was meticulous, organized, discreet, the kind of woman who knew when to listen and when to stay silent. Over time, she quietly pieced together information that most outsiders could only dream of knowing. And in the right hands, her hands, even small truths could carry enormous weight. By early 2024, the quiet Cold War between Queen Camilla and Carole Middleton was no longer just whispered about in private. It was starting to show. In March of that year, at Prince Louis's school concert in London, royal watchers couldn't believe their eyes. Carole and Camilla, once seen smiling politely together at family events, now stood on opposite sides of the room. There was no greeting, no polite nod, not even a glance. Prince William, ever the peacekeeper, was seen trying to navigate between the two, chatting with both women to soften the tension. But the chill in the air said it all. Something between them had broken completely. And this wasn't an isolated moment. It was the result of years of quiet power struggles, unspoken resentment, and emotional distance wrapped in royal formality. Through it all, Carole never lashed out or sought attention. She stayed poised, just as she'd taught her children to be, but those close to her could see the hurt. Despite Kate's endless efforts to keep her family balanced, royal duty kept chipping away at everything that once made them feel whole. Since stepping into the royal spotlight in 2011, the Duchess of Cambridge had poured her heart into charity work and public service, all while trying to protect the warmth of her family. But behind that calm grace, her mother, Carole Middleton, was fighting her own silent battle. Carole never spoke out publicly, but her every move told the story. Her gradual retreat from royal life wasn't a retreat at all. It was a statement, a quiet rebellion against being treated like an outsider in her own daughter's world. It wasn't about status, money, or image. It was about respect, about refusing to let anyone make her feel like she didn't belong in her grandchildren's lives. By early 2024, things had taken a darker turn. Insiders whispered about an icy distance forming between Queen Camilla and Carole. Royal staff, who once treated the Middletons with warmth and courtesy, suddenly became cold, formal, and distant. Invitations that used to come regularly stopped arriving. Conversations turned stiff and scripted. Even Kate, always so composed, looked torn, caught between her royal duty and her mother's quiet heartbreak. But Carole wasn't one to lash out or seek pity. She moved strategically, documenting everything. Every shift in tone, every unspoken slight, every sign of how power was truly being used inside those gilded palace walls. This was no longer just about personal pain. It was about principle. Carole wanted to ensure her family's story wasn't rewritten or erased by royal insiders who thought they could control the narrative. She had raised Kate to be strong, kind, and steady under pressure. And now, as her daughter stood at the very centre of the monarchy, Carole was determined that the values she'd built her family on would not be crushed by centuries of protocol. But then came the twist that no one, not even the palace, saw coming. On a cold, tense morning, February 6th, 2025, Carole Middleton was seen arriving at Buckingham Palace. No press, no entourage, just a single leather briefcase clutched firmly in her hand. And according to palace insiders, what happened next wasn't a polite family meeting, it was a reckoning. Sources say Carole didn't come empty-handed, she came prepared. Inside that briefcase were real documents, financial records, bank transfers, detailed notes, and timelines that allegedly connected names, dates, and money trails. There's been no official confirmation, but whispers spread fast. Whispers about secret meetings in Switzerland, money quietly rerouted through shell accounts, and even internal efforts to quietly push the Middletons out of the royal inner circle, where she first met Prince William. Those early days of royal life were not easy, yet Catherine understood something few outsiders ever could. Power in the monarchy isn't shouted, it's cultivated. Every gesture, every silence, every appearance carries meaning, and Kate mastered that art better than anyone since Queen Elizabeth herself. By 2025, that mastery had evolved into something far greater, a quiet authority that even the most senior courtiers couldn't ignore. After Carole's bold visit to Buckingham Palace, observers began noticing subtle but undeniable shifts. Meetings that once excluded the Middletons were now held with their input. Charitable initiatives once sidelined were being publicly praised by the palace. Insiders describe it as a rebalancing, but others whisper it's a quiet coup, Catherine asserting control not through confrontation, but through credibility. Her composure, once mistaken for submission, had become her weapon. She was redefining what it meant to be a royal consort in the 21st century, not merely ornamental, but influential. And while Queen Camilla's emotional exit left royal watchers stunned, it also symbolized something larger, a turning point in the monarchy's inner power structure. The old guard was crumbling, and a new kind of leadership was emerging. Behind the palace's gilded gates, the question now wasn't whether Catherine could lead alongside her husband, but whether she already was. While raising Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, she studied the ways of the royal family, especially the Queen's brand of silent power. She learned when to speak, how to act, and perhaps most importantly, when not to react. By the time March arrived in 2025, as Camilla quietly withdrew from public appearances following the fallout of Carole's visit, Kate stepped forward, but not with rebellion or drama. She didn't seize the spotlight. She simply occupied the space that had quietly opened up. Her engagements increased. Her voice began to carry more weight in planning meetings, and most notably, her office was relocated, moved from a tucked-away corner of the palace to a suite just steps from King Charles's working rooms. In palace terms, that was more than symbolic. It was structural. Influence in the monarchy is often measured in feet, not words. Behind the scenes, William was said to rely more heavily on her insight. Palace aides observed a visible unity between the two, their public outings now more polished, more strategic, more equal. William deferred to Kate on several key decisions in the spring. She, in turn, offered a perspective that bridged tradition with the modern world outside the palace gates. Even Kate's wardrobe reflected this transformation, recycling old outfits, blending high street brands with couture. It was subtle but intentional, a royal message of relatability during a cost-of-living crisis. Her influence extended online too. Social media posts once stiff and formal became softer, more personal. Candid photos of the children, glimpses of laughter between engagements, moments that felt real. The royal image was being reshaped, not with rebellion, but with empathy. And now, in April 2025, the question isn't whether the Middletons belong, it's how far their influence will reach, because power in the palace doesn't vanish, it moves. And right now, it's moving in their direction. But what do you think? Has Kate Middleton quietly become the true power behind the palace walls while no one was watching? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal revelations just like this.